Welcome to the Lunation Situation. We are going to talk about the closing chapter of a mega eclipse. November 8th, we are finding ourselves in the last pairing of the eclipse that started October 25th. And now the portal is coming to a close, but how? With a lot of whirlwind of changes, of tremendous turbulence. And in this video, I'm going to talk to you about this Taurus full lunar eclipse, a total eclipse, because the North Node and the moon are very close together. So this makes it an epic eclipse. So let's dissect what is going on so that we know the energies and so that we can be very aware with these energies, so that the turbulence only creates a higher expression, and so that we come out stronger on the other end. So this eclipse occurs at 16 degrees of the sign of Taurus. Now that means that the moon is in Taurus, but that since it's a full moon, the sun is opposite the moon in the sign of Scorpio, also of course at 16 degrees. Now, what makes this eclipse super interesting is that it is a Uranian eclipse, because the moon and Uranus are pretty much conjunct, which means right together, smashed together, almost tied to each other like a naval button, you know, they're joined at the hip. And this means that actually the eclipse energies are amplified, so they are made even stronger and bigger, because eclipses have that Uranian energy and tendency anyway, but now that the moon and Uranus are involved, literally means that this eclipse is on turbo power. This eclipse is meant to shake us. This eclipse is meant to shake us awake. This eclipse can bring massive chaos, upheaval, grand changes, breakthroughs, and also breakdowns. This is one of the strongest eclipses I have seen until now. Let's dive into it, right? So to break it down, what is an eclipse? An eclipse means that it is divine timing, that things need to rearrange, and there is no control on our part left in it anymore. This is divine intervention. Again, realigning to our highest path, taking out whatever isn't necessary anymore, taking out whatever doesn't resonate anymore, and it brings in what is required, what is needed for our evolutionary growth and development. Now, prior to this eclipse, November 8th, we've 2 weeks earlier had a solar eclipse in Scorpio, and that was sort of a new beginning. That was bringing something into our lives. Something was eclipsed in, most probably or likely, but for some people, of course, it could also mean that something had to be removed for something new to come in. But generally, new moons and therefore solar eclipses bring something in that is necessary, right? And this November 8th is a lunar eclipse. that means it's a full moon. And full moons are always about endings, are always about release, letting go, something coming to fruition, right? Something coming to an end, a death of some kind, not literally, but just an ending. And if all went well, then it's actually a harvest time, you know. You could celebrate something you have achieved. But since the moon is full, there is an illumination. There is something coming to your consciousness. You are able to see something in a new light, quite literally. So something is revealed to you, something revealed of importance, and just the release theme could be stronger because the sun is still in Scorpio, and because it's lunar, so there's quite a profound ending theme going on. So eclipses are also about shakeups. They are just divine intervention to create chaos, upheaval, and desired, needed changes. So as you can tell, Uranus, right there on this total lunar eclipse, means that it is just expanding and enhancing that theme of the eclipse, that theme of the full moon, and of course all the Uranian themes. What could they be? Well, first of all, Uranus, as I said, like eclipses, is about change. Uranus is about moving forward, innovation, future. It's about energy in all kinds of forms. This could also mean our electricity, as Uranus was discovered when we discovered electricity, so to speak. So that theme is strong. You know, one could expect that some power outages could happen around this eclipse. Now, mind you, eclipses always have a long tail end, so to speak. So this energy continues for at least 6 months. But, you know, if it touches somewhere in your chart that is super significant, it could even be more than that. But at least, let's say there's a hot topic period where this energy will definitely brew on for the entire collective, no matter what your chart is, for at least 4 to 6 weeks. So 4 to 6 weeks before and after November 8th is going to be really hot. And I mean in the sense that this eclipse energy that we're speaking of is like a collective energetic matrix on top of everything that we're experiencing. This is giving an insight into what definitely is going to occur at least 4 to 6 weeks from November 8th on, if not before. And then, as I said, generally it could even last up to 6 months. But eclipses are life changes, drastic life changes. And Uranus, as I said, amplifies that. It's like, let's break this down. Let's break it through. Because Uranus and the nature of an eclipse is so disruptive, it can cause chaos. It can. But the higher expression of Uranus is about awakening, is about insight, you know? So ideas, but of a really higher consciousness level. Therefore, it represents also energy, vibration, and frequency in the form that we understand through quantum physics and sorts, right? Everything is energy, everything is connected, and that higher understanding of how energy works could be Uranian at the top of the expression. But I suppose more in the middle and even lower is rebellion, protests, fighting against the system, which is of course very necessary and important as well. And I would say, because it's the first outer planet after Saturn in our solar system, it means that it's a consciousness beyond that we are familiar with. So therefore, it's always about higher consciousness and the push to get us there. Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius, and that's why it also stands for individualism, uniqueness, doing it your own way, finding your own voice, finding your own ideas, finding your own authentic frequency. And it's the higher mind. It's those genius ideas, genius concepts. It's also about technology, anything future oriented. It's about the internet, social media. It's about the collective, especially next to the moon. It means something global is going on. Something big, a big change is going on. What kind of changes is found through analyzing the sign of Taurus? So let's look at that. This moon is at 16 degrees of Taurus. So Taurian themes and concepts are at play here. That means, in the very basic sense, Taurus is about our money. Taurus is about our possessions. What do we own? Although in this capitalistic modern society, often it's about, right, money and resources, but actually it stems from worth. What do you find worthy? So it comes, actually, the money aspect, especially from energy, it's an energy aspect. The energetic aspect of money comes from worth, self-worth. So Taurus is also about that. What are your values? What is important for you? What is valuable, right? That's very Taurian. But Taurus is also about the five senses. So smell and, right, taste. So Taurus is also very much about our food. It's the first earth sign. So it could even mean the earth, with Uranus there, it could be disruptions of something on earth. So think of earthquakes or such. Could very likely be happening around this eclipse. As I said, Taurus is about our food, our pleasure, could even mean agriculture, Taurus is ruled by Venus, so it's also about what we love and what is in our heart frequency. So we are challenged and pushed and revealed what we truly find important in our heart, what we really find valuable outside of the programming that it is stuff or material, it's the tangible. But Uranus is challenging us to look beyond and to look into the new future as well, and needing to leave things behind, maybe literally, or at least in our motivations or in our goals, because Taurus is a very determined sign. If it has a goal in sight, it will go after it until it's, you know, received, until it gets the goal. So the thing to watch out with Taurus, since it's a fixed sign, means that if you're not careful about what goal you're setting, because of the determined and attached nature of Taurus, it will go after it no matter what. So goal setting, or having set goals prior to this full moon that didn't serve you, will be eclipsed out. But Taurus doesn't like change because it's a fixed sign. So it likes order, it likes to plan ahead, so it likes to structure things. But this full moon is going to be anything except that. So Taurus energy, if your sun is in Taurus, your moon is in Taurus, your ascendant is in Taurus, or any personal planets such as Mercury or Mars or Venus, is going to get a big influence, especially around 16 degrees, right? Because this lunar eclipse is forcing those Taurian energies to change. And as I said, Taurus energy doesn't like to change. It likes to hold on. It's attached to its outcomes and to its goals, right? And therefore to its motivation. But now we are challenged to implement new ways of seeing the world. And, you know, Earth is changing. And I think this lunar eclipse is a quite literal explanation of, you know, Earth is changing. And it's like, wake up. You know, this November 8th is a wake-up call to get our act straight, you know, to get our goals reevaluated. And that also has to do with, because Mars is retrograde during this eclipse that we will talk about a little later. But so we need to move forward, says Uranus, and I will make it happen whatever way, if you like it or not. And you know, that can frustrate the Taurian energy. And you know, so I guess this is a pretty frustrating lunar eclipse due to also the patterns in this chart, but also due to the nature of Taurus. So it needs to let go of some of the attachments to its goals, plans, and outcomes. It needs to use those Uranian insights to reconsider, as I said, what is important, what is close to your heart, what feels good, what is pleasurable, what is worth pursuing and doing and growing toward. Taurus is also the body. Quite literally, it's the throat. So it's about voicing as well, singing perhaps. The sign of Taurus is also about beauty, aesthetics. It's the builder sign, right? It wants to build strong foundations towards its goals and ultimately, of course, the future. So that builder element is quite important, except that, you know, while it's busy with constructing something, Uranus is here to say, let's deconstruct, let's tear this building down because it's not safe. We're not secure, which are other Taurian elements. So our safety could be challenged around this full moon. Our security could be challenged. Whatever we build and whatever we constructed can be challenged, only to see that what we thought was a solid foundation really wasn't, or was built on, you know, was sandcastles, something like that, a house of cards. So many will see, unfortunately, in this lunar eclipse that that some of these things will be disrupted, and we will be forced to see some new realities, and as I said, especially around Taurian themes. So our finances are challenged, what we own is challenged, food is a challenged topic, so anything related around that can definitely be brought up in this lunar eclipse. So disruptions and chaos around those themes can be expected. Also, as I said, Uranus is the rebel and goes against the system. So this is also an energy of people protesting and going against these seeming problems around food and finance and stuff like that. But again, what Taurus is calling out to us is to really dig deep and find out what really matters to you. On the other end, Taurus is a very simple sign. It's also a slow sign and a patient, practical sign. So that's important. I think that's an advantage with all these changes in the world, that the slowness of Taurus is giving us, I mean, it's challenged because Uranus is fast, it's sudden, it's surprises, or like that, you know, suddenly something is flipped. And of course, those two energies are very challenging together. But I think the Taurus energy of staying calm, observing, is something that could really benefit in this lunar eclipse period. So yeah, Taurus is also our basic needs, right? It's the simple life, the natural life that is also very Taurian. So not only can stuff happen around that, so things disrupting our basic needs or challenging a simple life, it's also about having more ideas, from now on, building a new future on Earth towards stuff like what is simplicity, what you absolutely necessarily need, what is essential, right, in your life, basically, and to set those new kinds of goals. Those themes will be illuminated during this full moon lunar eclipse. So let's look at some of the patterns that this eclipse is making. First of all, most noticeably, there is a stellium going on opposite the moon. So, of course, the sun is in Scorpio, but the sun is also almost in a cazimi with Mercury. That means that Mercury's like in the heart of the sun, which is quite significant. That means that our minds are downloading higher consciousness, similar to Uranus helping the moon download higher consciousness. But the moon and Uranus is very much about our emotional world. So we're getting a lot of insights on our feelings and how emotions are energy in motion. So how frequencies work and how to deal with that emotional life and emotional needs. Now, on the other side, we have the sun, which is bringing life force, energy, vitality to our mind, to what we're capable of thinking. Mercury is actually the lower expression of our mind, where Uranus is our higher expression of our mind. So it's pretty interesting that they're opposite each other. So both are challenged in a different way because of this opposition. It just means that there is they're both just working very differently, but both need to be managed and somehow brought together in a more balanced way. So our mind is receiving a lot of insights from the sun. It is receiving a lot of awareness on, you know, because the sun is in Scorpio and therefore, you know, Mercury is too, it is a very deeper layer of our being. This is where our psyche is. This is where our subconscious is. So Mercury is receiving more of the deeper, intenser sides of ourselves, and also maybe stuff in our ego that is challenging the moon and Uranus situation. But Venus is very close to the sun and Mercury, and so is the south node. So this is a stellium, like 4 planets and points super close together. Their energy is merging. So Venus, Sun, Mercury, and the south node are dancing together and affecting each other. This means that even though the eclipse is in Taurus, there is a big Scorpio energy going on as well. Even though this is the financial axis, as we call the Scorpio-Taurus opposition, it's also a relationship axis where, you know, Taurus is more about me and mine, and Scorpio is about us, ours, together, merging everything, and just a really intense, deeper connection. So Scorpio themes are here as well, really big actually. And as I said, this is going deeper into our subconscious mind. I guess I understand that for a lot of people, it's not easy to understand what the subconscious mind is, but it's basically anything you aren't aware of that is pulling the strings in your life. And if you're not aware of it, doesn't mean it's not there. It's still doing what it's doing. Scientists say that 95% we are governed, or how do you say, led by our subconscious mind. So only 5% we are doing consciously, knowingly, aware, you know. The rest, 95%, we don't know why we do something, why we're motivated, why we behave in a certain way, or even the words we use, or why we think this and that, or how we think, you know. All that is in the subconscious mind, also including traumas, fears, and the emotions that we're not willing to look at. All that is stuffed into the subconscious mind, but it's also what you got from your family, what you got from advertising, what you got from cultural, you know, beliefs and stuff. All that is in your subconscious mind. Because we're not aware of it, because we're not holding the torch, the light in that subconscious field, it seems dark, it seems unknowing, it seems like a maze. We don't know what's there, and because we don't know, because it seems dark, only because we're not putting the light there, it scares us, and it you know, makes it more difficult to enter because of that fear of being scared to, you know, what do we find in there, and does it make things even worse, maybe, potentially, right? But so there is still, with this lunar eclipse, a focus on that subconscious field, on the darkness within, leading your decisions, your motivations. It's the emotions we need to be aware of as well. The south node being there means that we need to let go of whatever is blocking us in our psyche. We need to let go of fears. We need to let go of unhealthy attachments. And we need to really purge some darker energies. And it just means dark means unaware. So becoming aware of what is motivating you is quite a process, I know, but a highly valuable process because it brings you more into your unique self. And there we have the Uranian theme again. So there is a need for our relationship world, our minds, and our ego to go a little bit deeper and to help each other understand why you do what you do in relationships, in your mind and in your ego, and get rid of anything that is blocking you, especially fears. So there's that theme going on. But then this natural opposition of the sun and the moon is also making a T-square. This means that it's pointing towards a certain planet. And it's pointing towards Saturn. Now, I think this is really interesting because Saturn has been squaring the nodes of fate, the north node and the south node. Now, the north node means where we ideally want to move towards. It's the evolutionary growth of our soul. It is what we need to learn, what we need to develop, and mostly it's kind of new for us, a new territory, so we don't exactly know how to do it. But there is now, with the north node in Taurus right next to this lunar eclipse and Uranus, we need to move towards the Taurus energies. But the south node on the opposite side, as I just spoke of, is our subconscious mind. It's stuff that is blocking us, stuff we need to let go of to detox and purify. That is the south node in Scorpio. Now, as I said, this entire year, I mean, most of this year, Saturn has been squaring the nodes in like almost all the lunation situations that I've been speaking of, or at least to my awareness, since spring of 2022, at least, if not the entire year. So I do feel that this is a power punch. This is a culmination of that T-square, that ongoing tension of Saturn and the nodes. What does that mean? Well, Saturn is the planet that rules our time. It's Chronos. Anything with time management, the future, therefore, is a Saturnian theme. Saturn is about our lessons in life. It's that teacher that is handing out the lessons we need to pass to move on. And therefore, in the nature of Saturn, it always challenges us, but it challenges us to grow up, to mature. Saturn is that older energy, and therefore maturity oftentimes. Saturn is serious, so it's about our focus, our devotion to something. It's the need to have responsibility. The maturity level that Saturn teaches us provides a way to have long-term goals and plans. Saturn is about construction as well, like Taurus. It's about that build-up of really strong foundation. That's why Saturn tests our strong foundations, and most likely it has been testing our foundations this entire year with this culmination of the lunar eclipse. Saturn doesn't like half-assed stuff, right? If you're gonna do something, you need to do it really good. You need to work hard, and most importantly, you need to put effort into whatever you're doing. And that's that focus element that Saturn always requires from you. And the focus comes from that natural devotion of wanting to do that, right? This is, even though Saturn, you know, is explained as, you know, that tough teacher, the push and the confrontational energy, it, you know, it is about you wanting to do it as well. It's not going to force you. Well, it may force you a little bit. But I don't see Saturn as being really unkind or anything. It's really a call to grow up. If Uranus is the, you know, the call to wake up, then Saturn is the call to grow up. Yeah, Saturn is not childish. It really wants you to mature. And funnily enough, Saturn is now in Aquarius, which it used to rule before Uranus was discovered. But this is the field of Uranus. So we are talking about Saturn maturing, bringing focus to these Aquarius themes, right? Similar to Uranus. So what are those, right? We just spoke of them. Uniqueness, technology, future themes, future-oriented goals. Did I say internet, social media? It's about networking, groups, collective, friends, but also the collective in the sense of humanity at large. Uranus and Aquarius are very much about freedom, about liberation. With the moon conjunct Uranus, I should have mentioned this earlier. This is a really big theme. This means that this lunar eclipse, no matter how challenging, is a really wonderful opportunity to truly break free. To break free from constraints, from the old, from the stagnant, from the rules and regulations, you know, sort of the lower and somehow negative aspect of Saturn. But the neutral and sort of higher aspect of Saturn is what I said: maturity, self-respect. It's about integrity, being true to yourself. There's that, again, that Aquarius theme, you know, if you're unique, everybody's unique. Be true to that unique self. And I've always seen the Saturn return that most people fear as a period where you come really close to who you really are in your core. And if you weren't close to that, then yes, Saturn can be challenging because it will require you to move those things away that aren't true to who you are. But in the very essence, that is what Saturn does. And I think that's quite positive. It is helping you to peel those onion layers of all that you're not and to come really close to that core center of you that you came into this world for, to manifest, right? Because Saturn is very much about manifestation. Saturn is this world. It's the tangible material world. It rules this world in that sense. And also quite interestingly, if you look at, you know, the solar system, Saturn is one of the last gateway planets. So you have the personal planets first, and then you have, from our perspective, you have the personal planets first, then you have the gateway planets, which is Jupiter, Saturn, and I guess the Chiron asteroid. Then you have the outer planets, which is Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. So the fact that Saturn is a gateway planet means it guards the gates. And from Saturn on, it is higher consciousness. You need to be much more evolved, emotionally, energetically, to be able to enter those fields. Otherwise, you lose your mind or whatnot. You will not get in anyway, because as I said, there are the gate planets, the controllers before you can move on. And Saturn is one of them, is the biggest controller. It's the guard of this 3D material world. Quite originally speaking, but we are advancing in consciousness, so I suppose that gives Saturn a bit of a different goal. I think, you know, what we don't understand as humans, we have such a linear way of thinking, but it's not only us who's evolving. It's not only our consciousness or only Earth. Obviously, if we're evolving and growing and becoming more conscious, I think that also happens to other places in the universe, and therefore our solar system as well. So if we're evolving, so is Saturn. You know what I mean? So Saturn's role is changing as well, and I think we can see that in this lunar eclipse. We could have seen this entire year, that Saturn is getting a transformation of its own as well. So it's the gateway planet, right? Saturn. That means that we need to be sure of who we are in that, right? Essential sense of self. And we need to respect ourselves. We need to learn respect in general to everybody. We need to be practicing integrity, which I find to be a very Saturnian, higher expression Saturnian word. And once we are able to do that, be really self-respecting, full of integrity, knowing who we are, what we do, what we want, what we're building, consciously within ourselves, that's when the gates open, and that's when Uranus and Neptune and Pluto, but specifically for this lunar eclipse, Uranus can really step in and do what it does best. But it's up to us to see what kind of expression we allow to happen. You know, that's an energetic thing. It could only meet us where we are at. So, you know, we can also kind of challenge the planets and therefore the energies to step up their game as well. You know, it's a dialogue. This is we're interconnected. It's not one thing imposing something on the other, you know. This is dual. We're doing it together. But anyway, so Saturn is T-squaring this lunar eclipse. That does mean Originally, a T-square means great difficulty. It means frustration, conflict towards that Saturnian energy, challenge, but on the other side, it requires our full attention, which is something Saturn loves, right? So all the attention, sort of all the eyes are set on Saturn, Saturnian energy in Aquarius. So all our attention is focused on a solid building of foundation that could benefit the entire humanity, or, because this is a T-square, if we're not capable of doing that, then Saturn can come in with its lower expression and say stuff like, well, I'm going to regulate you all, little collective of people, and I'm going to enforce my rules and regulations and my boundaries on you. Really challenging those new free feelings of the Uranian lunar eclipse. But if you use Saturn in a good way, then by now, I hope, because this was an ongoing T-square. This is not new, right? Saturn didn't just come here in this lunation to force us to grow up. Come on, this is, let's do this right now. Saturn, similar to Taurus, they're very similar in a way, because Saturn, of course, in the modern sense, rules Capricorn. So they're both earth signs, and they're both slow and determined for success, to go on top, to build to the top. So, there's a seriousness to earth signs. So both the Taurus energy of this lunar eclipse has it, and so does the Saturn, confrontation too. So this has been an ongoing theme, right? It means that we have been working on building up our better, unique sense of self, that more authentic understanding of who we are. We have been building on that the entire year of this year, if not more before. So we have been working on those Saturnian energies within ourselves, being more aware of our boundaries, expressing our boundaries, thinking more of, a collective new direction, liberty, freedom, growing up in our sense of uniqueness and in our ideas as well of how to build new long-term plans that are solid, that do have strong foundations. So we have been doing this all year. We've had that focus that Saturn demanded. It already did this. It already wanted our attention, and it had our attention. In whatever way in your own life, Saturn has been dictating you this entire year of being more serious with your life, getting your act straight, realigning yourself with a higher way of living on Earth. Thinking, as I said, about the global collective energy, thinking about your personal but also group freedom, because I think we've all realized by now that even if I want to be free and you want to be free, that is not enough. We're only free if you know, if we're, well, if we're all free. Otherwise, it makes no sense. It's not real. I think we've just realized a lot of things thanks to Saturn in Aquarius. You know, it is a genius energy, that Aquarius energy. It's out of the box. It's, yeah, so Saturn has been teaching us that Aquarius energy, right? And has been challenging us to look at things from all different perspectives. You know, technology is great, but if not used well or with ethics, with respect towards technology and humanity, things get whoopee, you know, things are going wrong then. So I think Saturn is just making sure that we stay focused, because otherwise this is not going to go in the right direction. And you know, nobody benefits from a destructed Earth. Yeah, so we are definitely challenged to step up as a humanity, as a collective. This is a serious lunation situation. They have a saying in Turkish that this is the last gate of exit before the bridge. You know, otherwise you have to like complete the, who knows, really, you know, trafficky, long hour journey of being on the bridge and maybe going to a side you don't want to go. So this is the last exit before we're on that really long bridge taking us to who knows where. So we really want to make sure that energetically we are in the right place, because yes, this is an eclipse. So there's not much you can actually do, because you hopefully have done the journey until now. You know, it's asking a lot from universe and spirit to say, oh, just, you know, just make my life better. This is an eclipse, right? I have no control. Let's do it. Take away what needs to be taken away and stuff like that. But that's too easy. That's not how it works. You know, Saturn knows that. This is the Earth school. You need to learn stuff. You need to evolve. You need to grow up, and you need to integrate. You need to integrate the emotions. You need to integrate knowledge, etc. And I think Uranus and Aquarius also rule higher knowledge, wisdom as well. So this is leveling up, but you have been leveling up. You have been forced by Saturn, at least this entire year, to truly level up, at least, as I said, energetically. And that's the only thing you can do right now. And for the rest, yeah, it is divine timing, and it's going to do what it needs to do. And therefore, we can trust this process. So whatever occurs, whatever seemingly is happening in the world, we can still keep our heads cool and straight, and know that we are equipped to whatever we will experience, to not let fear get in the way of whatever is going on. That's the stellium in Scorpio, right? Opposite this eclipse situation. Saturn is bringing in that element of making it real, making your plans, your desires, your needs, whatever you have been working on, real. It's that manifesting energy. It feels discomforting because of that T-square. As I said, it will challenge to, well, whatever we will experience will bring in a challenging feeling, a challenging experience. It will be like real shit, you know? But if we pass this last Saturnian test well, and we do that with responsibility, accountability, respect, integrity, and maturity, right? Ultimately, emotional maturity. If we do this well, then Saturn will bring in the gifts and will solidify, make something tangible and real. That this lunar eclipse could also be something that you're celebrating, because, you know, finally you can reap the fruits of your labor that Saturnus can bring in as well. So it's up to you how you stand in this storm. This is a stormy energy. But how you handle yourself will always make the difference. So keep in mind that you need to be clear on what matters to you, what is essential, what are you building, what feels good. That's my kitty. Bless you. Okay. So there's one more energy that I want to mention, and that is Ceres. Ceres is a minor dwarf planet, but also an asteroid to some people. Anywho, doesn't matter. Ceres is really important, and it's in the sign of Virgo at also 16 degrees. So it is playing with this lunar situation of the sun and the moon. So it's basically a really big player with this lunar eclipse. Ceres is trining the lunar eclipse, you know, with the moon and Uranus in Taurus. This means that the tension of this full moon is lightened. The energy is lightened by taking really good care of ourselves. Because Ceres is about nurturing others, but also nurturing yourself. And in the sign of Virgo, it means that there is a purifying element again, just like that south node in Scorpio. So Ceres is saying, if you work on your purification, if you work on your health, wellness, through nutrition, taking good care of yourself, nurturing your needs, then we will be more okay with this lunation situation. I think that is beautiful, and I'm signing out on this. This is a tremendous, important, full, total lunar eclipse in Taurus. The more aware you are, the more you will benefit. And this is a pretty big liberational energy, except that it will be experienced most likely through turbulence and chaos. What? Well, probably through our financial system, because it's Taurus. So for a while now, I have been feeling or expecting, I don't know, that we are going to have quite a financial crash. And as I said, I've been waiting, you know, could have been the Venus retrograde last year or the beginning of this year, could have been the eclipses earlier this year, but this one is pretty big and volatile, sort of. That, you know, this could be that moment where we potentially can experience financial crash. But as I said, we're ready for it if that's what's going to happen. As long as you keep your head cool and don't go, you know, as long as you don't buy into your fears and know that you were created for this moment. So no matter what kind of fear mongering, you'll be okay. But, you know, the awareness element, your energetic presence, your responsibility to your unique self, your unique needs, and what really matters to you, what is essential to you, what brings you joy and, you know, good feelings, is what you need to keep in your head, is what you need to keep in your heart. That is your responsibility. But once you do all that and you know, like, you know, I have been doing what I can, this is my capacity, I'm at full limit, and I have done all that you speak of, well, then it's just time to trust that whatever happens will be for our highest good. Just keep your, you know, keep this one going, your sixth sense, your third eye, which means your intuition. I should mention one more thing. I wanted to sign out, but it's not only a T-square to Saturn, it's also an ongoing square that we have experienced since 2021, primarily between Taurus, between Uranus and Taurus and Saturn and Aquarius. That has been a square that has going on for a while, right? And that has really been challenging us between the old and the new, between, you know, rules and regulations and freedom, between mandates and, you know, boundaries and versus breaking them. So this is a really challenge between the old and the new, and we will see a collapse of the old and we will move into the new. And how we navigate this is up to us to define what is new. And whatever insights, ideas, higher wisdom Uranus is going to bring you this lunation is going to be really valuable in your way forward on this earth, in your contribution to earth and life and humanity as well. So last thing to mention, Mars is retrograde during this lunation situation. Mars is retrograde in Gemini, and that our planet of energy means that we have a lot of less oomph, a lot of less motivation to do something. You know, our energetic level is much lower. We are turned inwards. We are slower. And that is actually perfect for this lunation because Taurus is slow, because you know, Saturn is slower, and because Uranus is super rapid and like sudden, right? We need the slowness to understand whatever is going on at this time. So I think it's perfect that we aren't too much distracted and that we are reevaluating. You know, Mars retrograde is confirming that we are looking at what we're doing, why we're doing, what is motivating us. And the element of Gemini means that Mars is busy in our mind of, you know, finding out what we're doing, why we're doing, you know, our thoughts, how we use words, how we create through communication and in our minds, you know. And And actually, the Mars retrograde in Gemini is making a yod. You know, it's that pattern where we find the finger of God, so to speak, in astrology. That means that Pluto and Venus are working together. And as I said, they have had an interesting relationship as well this past year, because it was conjunct Pluto most of the beginning of this year, and last year Venus, our planet of love and also money and value, has been, and beauty, has been transformed through Pluto's relationship together, and she has developed much more depth and much more understanding of the needs to have a relationship, or what the financial, the secret hidden aspects of what's going on in relationships, the financial world, and in our values as well. And how, I should say, how important values are actually to determine most of the other aspects, to determine most energies in your life. And the more you're aware of your values, and especially how valuable you are, that's where the real change happens. Anyway, they're making a very odd, weird, just an awkward relationship with Mars in Gemini. But the yod is pointing at Mars in Gemini. So that means there is great importance about this Mars retrograde. That means our transformation of our relationship needs, of our financial system, of our self-worth, and our aesthetics, are also determined by how, from now on, we take action. And Mars is getting its own little transformation with this retrograde. It is, it needs to level up. And in Gemini, it is reworking our mind-body connection, to make sure that, we're clear on what we are thinking, why we're thinking what we're thinking, why we're using what we're using as words, because words are spells and they can create our reality. They can create whatever we're taking action on. So there's a great change from now on with this eclipse in how we take action. And that's why it's probably significant that Mars is in retrograde, and that there's an overall oddly slower energy, except for that Uranus, of course. But that slower energy is just there to help us integrate whatever we're experiencing, to become more aware. That's the overall theme. It's about time we become more aware, to not be driven by our subconscious mind, at least not for the 95% that usually happens. Even if it's 50-50, that's a big accomplishment. And I think it's also interesting because Mars is about our body as well, right? It's about energy, it's about body. And so is Taurus. Taurus is about our body as well. It's about our 5 senses. Taurus is very physical. It's sensual. You know, like Mars, it's about sex as well. It's about pleasure. And Taurus is about embodiment, you know, embodying your values. So it's interesting that Mars is here having this yod, making its retrograde in Gemini more important, making the slowdown of our general energetic household more tuned inwards. I think that is benefiting this time for our body, our mind, and whatever we are experiencing in the physical world. So happy lunar full moon eclipse situation. And this is a wonderful opportunity, except that it's packaged in a layer of challenge, discomfort, and, you know, it's also maybe taking a good look in that mirror and owning up to what you're responsible for. So it's a massive grow up time. And if we do it right, then we can really bridge a new world. But, you know, just try to detach from whatever will be happening in this world, because, you know, we are not the only ones who understand astrology. Other people know astrology as well, and it can be used for malevolent purposes. So take it easy, okay? Mars retrograde is saying take it easy, take it slow, do less, look more inwards, and it's time to break free, says this lunation situation. So I hope that you stay true to yourself energetically, embrace your authentic needs of a good, simple, respectful, good life, you know, and no matter what, stay true to that. And I'll see you at the other end after this eclipse, and let's see what the world will be in or at. Pretty exciting. And yeah, Uranus is an exciting energy, okay? So just remember that it's your view, your perspective that does determine a lot. So stay in your power, and I'll meet you at the other side. Oh my God, I don't even know what lunation. I'll see you in the next lunation situation. Take good care. See you. Bye.